whatever he thought necessary to establish, maintain, and defend the state. As he got up to speak, the conference waited to hear if he was now ready to make peace.
I could go on and recite a litany of facts that demonstrate the extent to which Syria merits the dubious honor of being one of the most oppressive tyrannical regimes in the world. But this is not what we have come here for.
He attacked Syria bitterly and accused Syria of being on the list of terrorism. And I was very angry.
I looked over and I saw Farouk Shara's face, he just froze. And he called one of his aides over.
So immediately his face changed and he smiled. He said, okay, go back. I will write my speech. I told him, Mr. Minister, it's 15 minutes left. Yesterday we spent 7 hours to prepare your speech. He said, don't worry, I will write headlines.
So I lay aside my prepared speech and said openly, he is the last one to have the right to speak about terrorism because he himself was a wanted terrorist.
I shall just show you, if I may, a photograph, an old photograph of Mr. Shamir. Why was this picture distributed? It was distributed because he was wanted. He helped in the assassination of Count Bernadotte, the UN mediator in Palestine, as I recall, in 1948. He kills peace mediators.
I remember the faces of the Israeli delegation. They were colorless.
One Palestinian delegate then tried to demonstrate that no matter what Shamir thought, he was really negotiating with the PLO.
So I said the only thing that symbolizes Palestinians is the black and white kufiya, which President Arafat wears all the time. So I decided to put it in my shoulder. And the angle of my seat came directly looking Shamir on the eye. It was engineered by God. It was just perfect. And I looked at him and I said to him, I nodded in my head, I said, he shook his head like this. I smiled. Really, he went this way. So I winked to him. And he said, just do this. And then after the session was over, everyone is surrounding me. So I said, why the sensitivities? We are the key to peace, to your peace process as Palestinians. And you must realize the new facts of life.
Amid mutual recriminations, the conference broke into one-to-one talks between Israel and the Arab states.
We and the Syrians moved to opposite sides of this big table. We sat frozen, like robots. The Americans and Russians got out as quickly as they could. They were glad to escape.
It was difficult, half an hour. For me, for example, this will be the first time I sit face to face with the Israelis.
The Syrians wanted us to commit to a withdrawal from the Golan Heights. We didn't want to get into all that.
The withdrawal should not be a question for negotiation. The withdrawal is either there would be a withdrawal, full withdrawal, or there would be no peace.
The moment we would have said that we were ready to withdraw, this might have ended the whole thing, and the Syrians would have avoided the main question for us. That was the character of peace, the end of terrorism, the terrorist organizations with their headquarters in Damascus, and what about Hezbollah and Lebanon under Syrian occupation? all these topics were raised, and every time we tried to break this dogma of the Syrians.
When they finished, the Israelis returned to their hotel, telling the waiting press that all their suggestions to try to build trust had been flatly rejected. There had been no handshakes, no smiles, little personal contact.
I don't want to say that they were a complete failure, because the very fact that we were sitting and talking is in itself already an achievement. But the substance was, as I said, futile.
The Syrians, too, were unimpressed by their meeting.
I would like to express our regret for leaving this city, Madrid, without having tangible results from the bilateral talks that our delegation held yesterday with the Israeli delegation.
Israeli talks with the Palestinian and Jordanian delegation were so positive that they could be crowned with public handshakes afterwards. Both sides here, at least, confident of meeting again soon.
America had finally brought the warring parties to the conference table. But it would take another breakthrough to convert fighters into peacemakers. Yitzhak Rabin's stunning election victory brought the Labor Party back into power. Rabin had promised to accelerate peace talks with the Arabs.
I believe that agreement will be reached within less than 1 year. You can say 9 months, less, or between 9 and 12.
Israel's old enemy, Yasser Arafat, still claimed to lead the Palestinian people. But exiled in Tunis and cut off from his homeland, Arafat was more willing to compromise with the Israelis. In London in December 1992, a PLO representative from Tunis was on assignment.
I had never met an Israeli before, not one. All the way to the meeting, I was looking left and right, and behind me, I was afraid of being seen.
The Israeli who initiated the meeting was waiting for him. He was an academic with unofficial connections to Israel's new labor government.
It was a moment of truth. Meeting a PLO man was against the law.
The Israelis' cover for meeting a member of the PLO was provided by a fellow social scientist from Oslo.
I simply suggested that Hirschfeld and myself had breakfast, and then that when Abu Allah arrived in the lobby, I should simply discreetly slip away from the table and Abu Allah should take my place.
We spoke about the conflict, which had no end in sight. It had been raging for the whole century. So how could we end it?
PLO headquarters in Tunis awaited his report.
Abu Allah told us what had happened. I said, if they ask you to go again, go. He asked, what's the point of talking to these people? I said, well, there must be something behind it.
At the same time, official peace negotiations begun in Madrid continued in Washington, where a delegation of West Bank Palestinians were getting nowhere. Bypassing the delegation to talk directly to the PLO was thought by some Israelis as a better way around the impasse. But even the PLO did not speak for all Palestinians. The fundamentalist group Hamas had just kidnapped an Israeli police officer and murdered him.
We have to take a measure that will speak not by words, but by deeds.
Rabin ordered Israeli security forces to round up and deport 450